Hey everyone, my name is Ty. I am in my garage, so this counts. My show lately has been Ty's Garage, but again, I'm not doing garage things. I'm actually going to do another unboxing video. Many of you might have saw my unboxing of Advanced Civilization. It's a board game. I'll post a link in the description or post something like around here in the video that kind of links you to that, in case that's kind of something you're interested in. This is something I purchased on eBay for a steal that is kind of also gaming related, and this is basically, if you're completely unfamiliar, this is a starter set for a game called HeroClix, right? HeroClix is a line of, it's like a tabletop figure game put out by WizKids, also known as Wizards of the Coast. It's the same company, and the idea is that you get figures of, in the HeroClix universe, you get figures of famous comic book heroes, villains, and counterparts, characters from comic books, and you can basically duke out battles on a mat, playing board, a game board, I guess, playing mat, and so yeah, you can have people team up that wouldn't otherwise team up. It's a fantasy kind of thing. You know, what if Batman and the Joker were on the same team and had to fight against somebody else because they had to team up or something like that? It's a really cool game. I've always enjoyed it, but I've never really been super hardcore into it, at least not since I've had the money to do so. So, just a little bit of background. When I started getting into comic books in 5th grade, it was 2002, 2003. I believe it might have been, there was a back issue sale at the local comic book shop, or at least I thought it was the local shop. It was actually one out in St. Charles. If you're from St. Louis, you kind of recognize that St. Charles is a little bit a ways from Florissant where I am, but it was a comic book sale. It was like $0.25 per back issue, and at the time I was more interested in collecting than I was reading, because you know, having comic books was cooler than reading comic books at the time. And when I was there, they were giving out free copies of this certain issue of Wizard magazine, and in the back of the Wizard magazine they kind of talked about HeroClix, and they talked about how DC HeroClix were on the way out, and they had like a price guide or like a trader's guide for HeroClix for the few Marvel series that were out already. Marvel HeroClix came out a few runs before the DC HeroClix came out. So naturally I saw it, and there's this picture in the magazine. If I could find it, I'm going to show a cover of the magazine, of the article, but it showed these battles and these custom figures going on a map that had like full built-up buildings and scenery and things like that. Somebody had taken it to the hobbyist extreme, which I can appreciate now more than ever, and basically showcased, you know, how far your imagination can go with this game. So I was into comic books. I was into the superhero type stuff, you know, Batman, Superman, stuff like that. And there was this figure game that captured that. At the time, Pokemon cards were kind of going on their way out, and that's right when everybody started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And I just didn't really care about Yu-Gi-Oh! At the time. And I mean, it was cool, and I kind of enjoyed playing it, but I wasn't going to go out of my way to collect another card game. So I found this and figured it was something a bit cooler than cards. It was both action figures or figurines. I mean, I don't know if you call them action figures, but it's something you could hold a bit more tangibly than you could a card, and it was a bit more dynamic, and I just kind of, it stuck. So I went out to my local comic book shop, which is the same franchise as the one I purchased my starter set from. I decided to buy a starter set. I bought DC because I was more of a fan of DC than I was of Marvel at the time, and that still actually holds true today. And this is the same part number, stock number, or model number, or whatever. This is the same thing I bought in 2002 or 2003 when I started playing the game in 5th grade or 6th grade. And it's kind of a trip to see something like this. I bought one of these, and to have another one, it's just, you know, it's cool. So this is new and unopened, which is again cool. This box comes with everything you need to play. So it's going to have 8 figures in there, randomly selected, a map, a powers and abilities card, and I guess like a sheet that shows you everything from the DC Hyper Time series, and some tokens, a click ring, and we'll go over that as we open it up and I kind of show it to you. But if you look at the back, they kind of showcase, you know, Batman versus Superman, Superman versus Doomsday, or Batman versus the Joker, the Flash versus Gorilla Grodd. Those are classic team-up, you know, rivalries. They kind of show you, they give you a basic idea of what the figures look like in the game, and on the side they'll show you, you know, some other figures, Aquaman, and they got just artwork and some more figures. So overall, yeah, I mean, it's cool to me because this is exactly what I had when I was 11 or 12 or whenever I started playing with these things. And from my original starter set, I probably still have maybe 4 or 5 of the 8 figures, which is pretty good considering how poorly I had a tendency to take care of things. But that being the case, yeah, I'm stoked to see what figures come in this one and how they compare to the ones I got. Yeah, one more thing to consider is this is an outright starter set. When these things were coming out, and ever since then too, you could buy starter sets that had everything that you needed to play. That they had the maps, they had a rulebook, they had a powers abilities card, but they were themed sets. So you'd get like the Blackest Night set, which came with a person from each of the Lantern Corps, and you could see which person you got. It wasn't a surprise; it was predetermined which figures you got. With one of these, it was completely random. So I guess realistically, I could open this up and find out that I've got a bunch of crap, or I could open it up and find out that I actually have something quite rare. Which in the world of HeroClix doesn't really equate to anything of value, because much like, you know, any kind of trading thing, you know, whether it's Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, rare stuff that was in the early days, it's not as powerful in modern gameplay, it's not as valuable as it was back then, and it's really just more of a novelty today, because the stuff was so populated and worn out that it doesn't really matter anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and open it. I'm going to pause the camera for the sake of letting it cool down, and yeah, we'll see what figures I got. Alright, we're going to try to open this, and just like my other unboxing video, I have this tendency to open things as cleanly as possible. You know, I don't like, you know, making my packaging look like I sawed it open with a bandsaw or gnarled it like a hyena. I like keeping my packaging nice, even though it doesn't matter. I'm not going to return this. It's not going to be worth anything. It's just, I don't know, like a matter of principle and habit. So I just try my best to kind of break the seam as easily as possible, and sometimes it's just not easy to do. When I first started collecting these, my box was actually my carrying case. It was how I would get these from A to B and take to my friend's house. And when I started this, I mean, and this is going to sound pretentious or make me sound like a douche, but I was the first kid on the block to have this, which is kind of cool. It's a cool feeling, you know, because something that that you know about and nobody else really wants to play with you with, it sucks being the only person that wants to collect something like this, you know. And then later to find out that, you know, playing it with a couple of friends, they get interested, and then, you know, you're not limited to just the pieces you have. Because there's enough in here for 2 people to play each other. Technically enough in here for 3 or 4 people to play each other, and that's cool, but like, you know, I don't want to be the only one paying for these and then be limited by what pieces I have, because if I have the pieces, if I've got a killer piece, I'm going to use it every time. And I want to compare my killer pieces to your killer pieces. So, pretty quickly, my friend across the street started playing. A couple of people down the street started playing. My brother started playing. Basically, all the kids in the neighborhood started playing this game. Whether they were playing Marvel or DC it depended on the person. Because I know a few people that preferred Marvel over DC, and that's cool. But like, we all started playing, and it was what I call the collector's craze. When I was in 6th grade, I actually started the school paper. We didn't have a school paper. My first article was about collector's crazes and how I thought this was the next big thing compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! So I cracked the box open as best I could. There's a little adhesive on this box, so it's not just as simple as just popping it open. It does have a factory seal to break, but I got it open as cleanly as possible. There's a little glue and such, just using a paring knife, because that's what I you know, just something basic. Alright, so first things first I'm going to pull out is the bag of well, let's start with this because it's small on top. This here is a bag of, you get dice, which you need dice for a couple things. They determine ties and they're used in superpowers. I'm just going to go ahead and open this because I actually wouldn't mind seeing if any of my buddies want to come over and play. So you get dice, just your basic D6, nothing special here. You'll use these to determine, you know, things like knockback, and you'll use them for powers. I'll explain that. You get a click ring. This thing's cool because this guy here is actually used to click the rings over. I'll show you that here in a moment because they can be a real hassle if you don't have one of these. Eventually, you know, later series of HeroClix, they made it a bit easier to use, but without one of those, your life will be a nightmare. And then you have these tiles, right? And you got a couple things. You have these, which are just objects, right? There's these cheap circular things, and you got heavy objects and light objects. And if your character has super strength, you can use these to throw these at other people. So if they don't have a ranged attack, right? Say Superman doesn't have a ranged attack, even though I know he has laser vision or whatever, but in this I don't think he has a ranged attack. He can actually use his super strength to pick one of these up and throw them across the board at a player instead of having to go up and you do close combat. So you got those, and then you have these, which are special and barrier and smoke. There are instances wherein a player, you know, like might use a smoke pellet, and that's going to create a fog of war type effect through which you can't use a range attack because you can't see through it. Or like a barrier. I think it's not flash. Somebody can set up like a force field. And there's also specials. And then on the back here, they also have. You can also use these as rubble. You know, there's walls that are breakable in the game, and you can break through them and make them permanently permeable. If you'll forgive the alliteration. And you set one of these on the board to say, hey, this wall has been broken through, and we can now pass through it. So that's cool. Let's see. I've got the. We're gonna go with the board and rules next. We're gonna save the best for last, if I can manage. Okay, so let's see here. Plastic bags can be dangerous. To avoid danger from suffocation, keep this bag away from babies, children under 10 years old. If you keep this bag away from babies, you personally will not suffocate. So keep that in mind. They're not toys. You do not buy this for the bag. So let's see here. You have complete. Oh wait, there's an insert here. Play with this here. Complete rule book. It's very thorough. Color, which is also cool. Exact same thing I had when I was 12 years old or whatever. Some of these rules don't technically apply anymore because they do, just like Magic, just like Yu-Gi-Oh, the rules change over time and they don't hold up. They get modified. Inside there was these. You could actually write your name on these or write something underneath of it that you could stick to the bottom. You knew whose pieces were which. My buddy Ian had his. I think I still have some of his in my collection that have his sticker on them. I never bothered with them. You have an ad for Superman, the Man of Steel, for Xbox, only on Xbox, coming fall 2002. That dates this a little bit. You look at the that's an actual screenshot. The graphics are stunning. I don't know if you can see it in focus, but revolutionary. The Wizard Player Rewards Contest. You can fill this out and enter win $250 of Wizards products. I haven't filled one of those out in decades. The map. I think in this you only get one map, which is fine, and this comes with an indoor and an outdoor. So I know like the indoor is like an office space, and you'll never fold these things back up properly. You won't. Yeah, map A is indoor, map B is outdoor. I'm going to see if I can't find an image just to put up on screen so I don't have to unfold it and refold it. Next, quick play rules. You always want, it's always cool to have a quick play rule just to get yourself started. And again, full color, they give you the basics, the rundown of what each piece, how pieces work, and you get the dial and the window and such, how to add up teams, how gameplay runs. It's enough to get you started, but of course the rulebook has a more thorough understanding and gives you all your contingencies. I've made mention of this already a few times. It's the Powers and Abilities card, and this is actually a thick laminated card stock. That's a good thing too, because this is important. I think I still have mine from when I originally played, and on these pieces you'll notice, if you look at any bit in the window, you'll notice like some of these numbers are colored, and it kind of indicates a superpower. And then some members, they have team abilities. For example, Batman allies have a team ability. Justice League, Justice Society, the Police, Superman allies, Teen Titans, Legion of Superheroes, and Justice League, the Green Lantern Corps. All of these teams have abilities. And when you have more than one people from the same team on your team, they can group up and kind of band their abilities together. So it kind of incentivizes having more members from the Justice League or more members from a Batman ally perspective. Then you also have this kind of details, your attack superpowers, your damage superpowers. Here's your checklist. It's kind of a collect them all kind of thing. You have your speed superpowers and your defense superpowers. They end up adding more superpowers than what's on here, and these are not actually all the same with Marvel HeroClix. As far as I'm concerned, you can mix and play Marvel HeroClix against DC HeroClix and vice versa. But it's my opinion, and this might be the official rule, it might not be, that you should use the Powers and Abilities card that matches the player or the series from which your pieces came. So you always want to play with one of those. With respect to this is enough for 2 players. This is just a reference sheet. Now, let's see how I'm doing on time. I got 10 minutes left. It's enough to start the clicks. Each click comes individually packaged, which is cool, and they have these like plastic containers to hold themselves in place. And I already see at least one that I'm pretty stoked about. But let me start with this one here. These aren't factory sealed or anything, but this was one of my favorite pieces when I played. This was actually, let's see, I got Booster Gold, number 58. This is a rookie level. If you look, each one has a ring on it, right? This one has a yellow ring. That indicates this is a rookie level Booster Gold. He has the lowest power, he has the lowest health. It's all right. They'll have a experience and a veteran Booster Gold as well. I had all 3 of them. Booster Gold's a flying character, so he's got this elevated base, and he's got this height indicator that kind of tells you whether he's on the ground or whether he's soaring or hovering or what have you. But Booster Gold had, I think, like 7 clicks of health, which is good, but he has no superpowers. None. Nowhere in this does he have any special abilities. He's got 8 range, which is good, but other than that, he's kind of mediocre. This one's cool. I don't think I ever had this piece when I was a kid. This is Hawkman, another flying character. Never had Hawkman. Hawkman doesn't have any range. But this is an experienced Hawkman, and no team affiliation. He has some superpowers like super strength. I think he has perplex as well. Used to stack these plastic vacuum formed things, just keep my clicks in them as best I could. We used to call them clicks. It was our slang term for them. This one isn't packaged, which is kind of interesting. Harley Quinn. This is a veteran Harley Quinn, as indicated by her red ring. This is the most advanced Harley Quinn you can get. Still, not the strongest, but still fair. This guy's gonna honk. Nope, I'm just gonna go around, whatever. She's a Batman enemy. It's the first person I had that has a team alliance, and you can see the red Batman symbol on the back to indicate that she is a Batman enemy. She'll team up with like Joker and other Batman enemies. Such as, I believe, T.O. Morrow. I had one of these guys. I had a few. I think I had the full set of these when I was playing. It's a rookie T.O. Morrow. He's got quite a few powers and abilities, which is cool. Then now I got a couple of these that are blue. I don't understand like when they switched to the blue plastic vacuum forming, but I remember distinctly getting a couple of them that were blue. This one here, this is a good piece. I had a couple of these. This is Brainiac 13. He's freaking huge. He has a single range attack. This is a rookie, and so far he is the most powerful or highest point value that I've gotten so far at 101. When you play this game, you decide on a number of points, and you build up your team. That's your allowance for points. So you can have 20 pieces that are all 10 points apiece, or 2 pieces that are 100 points apiece, and that's your team. So it's important to keep that in mind. He's got a lot of powers. He's a Superman enemy, as you might know from the lore. Next piece up, Arcane. A buddy of mine bought me Arcane when I was on vacation, and he saw it at a comic book shop that sold individuals. Thought it was pretty cool and bought me this. If I remember right, Arcane is the enemy in a Swamp Thing. He's this ridiculous freaking piece. He's an experience. He's 83. Pretty significant. Next piece up, I think it's just like a thug or something, a lackey. You get units like this, right? This is an experienced lackey, but like he's a grunt, you know. You keep these guys here to fill up points and take out some maneuvers, but he only has 4 clicks of health. There's 12 total clicks on these, so the best you can have, I think, is technically 11 because you have to have a KO ring. So when you got like 9 spare points in your team, you fill it with a lackey or a grunt or something like that. And the last one I got here is Checkmate Agent, another grunt. But this grunt, it's a good grunt at 11 points. No special abilities, only 3 clicks of health for being a rookie, but has a range attack of 8 and can do it twice. So those are the figures I've got. Definitely enough here to play a game, but I imagine you'd have like an allowance of maybe 250, wherein Brainiac and Arcane would be the first 2 picked by each player, and then they just kind of divvy up the rest from there. But yeah, if you haven't played HeroClix, it's still being made. You can find loads of pieces for cheap on the used market. I got this for $11 or $16. I paid $20 for it brand new in 2003. So I obviously got, in my opinion, I got a good deal. It's the nostalgia's worth it alone. But yeah, I'm gonna shoot some B-roll of these, get some close-up pictures and stuff to kind of interlace and put in with the video. But yeah, in case you've never seen anything from HeroClix, this was the DC Hyper Time starter set. Again, my name's Ty. I'm in my garage. My show's usually Ty's Garage. So thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you like what you see, I'll probably be doing another one. I've got one more of these on the way. I'll just show the figures from. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.